Welcome to Creatacast with your host, David Welch. For today's show, we're going to talk about poetry. I'm going to read a poem, and I'm going to go over kind of what I've been doing for the last 3 or 4 weeks, about a month. First, let's talk about where I've been. So, my journey has taken me into the realm of videography, photography, and to Southern California. Strictly here on business, but it's been a great time. You know, I work out every day with who I'm filming. I do a ton of stuff. I write articles, I do straight photography, and it's been a very awesome creative outsource. Something that I'm going to start doing too here soon is starting a gig on Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, where I do freelance writing. And I think there's an opportunity there for writers to garner consistent work as a writer to become highly proficient and effective with your writing. Now, a lot of the writing you're going to be doing will be research-based writing, maybe some ghost writing, but more often than not, it's going to be helping blogs, research. Think pretty much if you take what you did in college and you transplanted that onto a money-making opportunity, it's pretty much what you're doing. Now, you're not strictly writing people's academic work for them. That would be unethical. But what you are doing is you're presenting them with an efficient way to compose their thoughts and collect their research for them. And a lot of the hardest parts about being in school and producing high quality academic work is the research component. Now, if you can cut out the tediousness of gathering the proper content, as in you log on to EBSCOhost or whatever academic database you have, Google Scholar, whatever have you, JSTOR, and you research relevant articles pertaining to whatever topic that person is writing about, gather 20, 30 articles that align somewhat with their thesis, and then provide them with that material so that they can use it as source material for their paper. You're not writing their paper for them. What you are doing, you are going through the work of preparing them with the proper material to provide to the academic community or to be relevant in that conversation. But again, part of what I'm doing out here in Southern California is videography work, photography work, and article work here with local MMA fighters. I've been training / videographing Team Alliance down in Chula Vista, California, and it's been a pleasure. It's been an amazing opportunity to get the training in and get the opportunity to film mixed martial artists in the course of their duties. You know, they're diligent, disciplined, and tenacious about building their craft of kicking your ass. And it's interesting to see the trajectory and journey of these individual heroes that are there trading in alliance. And I call them heroes for a reason. A lot of these fighters have side gigs. Not all the professionals there strictly do train for mixed martial arts. Some of them work at a bar, Paulina. Some of them own a business. Some of them some of them, literally give themselves to the community afterwards. I mean, they got so many things going on that it's been incredible to follow. Now, gigs like this don't come up very often. I've been very fortunate to, know some professional fighters that said, hey, we really need to build our social media presence here. And I came down for that opportunity. And it's been a blast. I've been filming really good sparring sessions, outside physical therapy sessions, training sessions, sometimes just being in the car, charity work, whatever it is that I've been filming has been adapted and part of my creative process since I've been here. So a lot of you guys are asking, well, how is that relevant to the writing community? Well, here is how it's relevant to the writing community. In order to build your frame of reference to write, you have to have experience. You have to engage in dialogue and see and hear dialogue that takes place out in the natural world, and then you can translate that into your writing. You can take the epic saga that is your life and transpose it upon a sci-fi saga, a mystery saga, whatever it is that you write, whatever genre you live in with your pen and paper. You have to at least be able to dream up, be able to create a sometimes realistic, sometimes not realistic situation and dialogue and circumstances for people to follow your writing. Now, people can have great writing, and great diction when they're writing something. However, that doesn't always translate into an enjoyable story. There are some stories that, when you navigate all the quirky little paragraphs and the nonsensical character development of some characters, you're like, well, this is essentially, and then when you break down the brass tacks of the story and you provide it your own summary, you're like, well, that wasn't really the best type of story. Or there might have been moments, but sometimes a book just leaves you flat, like, well, that sucked. But you didn't want to admit it sucked, you just wanted to finish it. But you don't reference it, you don't go back to it, you don't think about it. Now, the books that hit home with you, you think about. You think about what the characters did, what they said, how they were, mannerisms, things like that. In fact, you can be rather possessive, like Harry Potter heads. Like they become super protective of Harry Potter. So they will have a language that defends Harry Potter. Same goes for Star Wars, same goes for any other huge storyline that people love and buy into. And that could be anything. Honestly, there's so many good stories out there, and storylines and dramas and plays and whatever have you. I mean, there's so much content out there. It'd be impossible. Well, I wouldn't say impossible. I guess it would be improbable for someone to read and see and hear it all. You just can't. You might even hear just a micro fraction of what goes on in the universe. But whatever it is you do gather, whatever process you do experience, you can bring to the writing table. Now, having been here too, I can easily see how The Big Lebowski was written, because there's been some really trippy moments on this experience for me, and it's it's something that I can easily add to a strange part of my composition, whatever it is I'm writing. So it's just, think about that. Think about the experiences and the crazy journey that you're on, and how you can transpose or transcribe your story, or one of many stories that you may have, into a character, your whip, or whatever it is, whatever your writing in progress is, whatever your story you're trying to convey, whatever overarching message you want with your series, whatever it is you're doing. Same with poetry. Poetry is very declarative, very psychological in the sense that it does reveal a lot of what's going on in the head of these writers. Sometimes you can really pick up on when a writer has just a very certain type of character flair or a certain type of language tick or whatever it is that they're on. Even if they're in a bad mood, you can tell that they're even keeled. But sometimes you read a poem that really hurts in the feels, and you wonder why. You're like, damn, what the hell about that poem shook me? And you get it. You finally you get it. You're like, oh wow, and then you have a brief moment where like you and the author are like touching wine glasses, and you're like, wow, like we're kindred spirits in that. We do this all the time with music, where we'll listen to a song and we're like, that song exactly emulates exactly how the fuck I feel. Like Limp Bizkit Break Shit. Like there are people that wake up and like you, for no controllable reason at all, you want to break shit. So you're like, Limp Bizkit, the fuck, you got Fred Durst like that, and the drums just kicking in your head, and you're like, God, I want to get this shit. I want to get it. Or you've got Papa Roach, Last Resort, or Gone Away, whatever it is. Like you're in that song, you're in that music, and you embrace it, and you move forward, and you're, for you songwriters out there, you lyricists and you poets, just think about this. Like where are you writing from? What's your feeling? What are you trying to declare? Why is it that you're writing a Western poem? Like, it may be a prompt, yes, or it may be like you just have this weird ass flair for it. For me, I had weird, odd flares for nature poems, or poems that were just, I tried to think in different ways, and you could tell with my writing where the hell I experimented and where I didn't. So I don't know. I would just encourage people, if you are a poetry writer and you want books made of your work and you have a grip of poems that you might want to upload or stuff like that, poetrysoup.com does a really good job of keeping your poetry. It will show a copyright for your poem, and you can take those, and they do have options where you can put together books. Now, if that is something that you want to get done and you want to fork over the money to yield like a lot of books and turn around and sell them, then that's up to you. If you just want it to be on the shelf, also up to you. For me, I would love a poetry book made of all the poems I've written on poetrysoup.com. It's entirely plausible that I get that done one day. And I would love to have it just on my shelf, just so my kids can see that I wrote this book, that I've composed that many poems. Now, you could definitely see the arc of where I started off to where, I'm more of a professional poet now. But it's an opportunity for you to see where your style's gone, see where, what inches you've made in the echelon of composing your poetry. Now, I do want to read a poem today. I'm excited to read this poem. I just gotta find it again in my email. But this poem is written by my cousin Nicole. She has given me permission to read this on the air, and I'm excited to do so. I just gotta find her email here. And her name is Nicole Cruz. And it's something I'm very happy about. She's reached out to me about this poem. And, I didn't want to really overcrowd her with corrections and things like that, because I wanted her to explore poetry. But she did have a rubric to follow, and I tried to help her keep to that as much as possible when she composed this poem. But I'm just letting you know that the words that she has put down are entirely hers. I didn't help her with any of the diction. I didn't write it for her. I didn't give her any real ideas. She just really threw this at me. And I like it. I just want everybody to tell me how they feel about it too. And if you're tuning in for the first time, please know that I am very reachable. You can hit me up at D Welch. So that's Delta Whiskey Echo Lima Charlie Hotel 9627 at gmail.com. So you can hit me up there. You can do poetry submissions, short fiction submissions. So there's a lot of submissions you could do. My criteria is this: Times New Roman, 12-point font. If you're doing poetry, 10 pages of poetry, please separate the poems. If you submit 10 pages of a fiction, double spaced is great. Times New Roman, 12-point font. I don't care about the margins. I can adjust for that. But just, do what you can to make it as legible as possible. If you do use italics, at least allow me. Don't put the story in read only. Don't put it in word and read only. So I want to be able to unselect the italics if I cannot understand what it is. Because some people put different script and it's hard to really ascertain what they're writing. Or they'll send me a PDF and that's even harder. It's even more challenging. So I'm going to go ahead and read this poem. I want everybody to listen to it and just ruminate that I think she's 9-year-old young poet wrote this. I think she's actually older. She might be 11 or 12, but here we go. This poem is called After the Blood of Hyacinths. After the blood of Hyacinthus, after the discus hit the ground, the wound caused by jealousy, drip, drops, his cold blood plummets to the bestial world. From the ground sprang gloriously the flower of calm stability, of blue in the fierce energy of red. 7 leaves, fleshly, glossy, lovely, green, suspicious springs, hiding in the bulb light purple hue, encased with dry, papery skin-like layers. After the blood of the hyacinthus, after the hyacinth blooms in the field full of flowers with gazing green eyes, the wake of the hyacinth flashing and frolicking under the sun, a motley procession with prying and piercing eyes, following the purple flower to spring's bliss. So I do believe the last word was meant to be bliss, but it's B-I-S-E, and I have no idea what that means. And I could be very ignorant to something I just don't know, but I'm pretty sure that it might be a misspelling, but it's okay. We digress. We move on from here. But it's fantastic in the sense that the word choice, the visuals that she gives you is superb. Her line breaks, I wish you could see them. When I get my digital magazine up and going, and if I get enough submissions and everything, I will keep striving for that. I will keep moving in that direction to make that happen. I just don't get enough submissions at this stage in the game, and that's perfectly okay. I don't need a whole lot of submissions. My channel's possibly going to align with a much larger website, and I would strictly be reading their content. So that is in the works, but we will see. Right now, as far as my podcast, I'm definitely still talking about writing tips, things that'll help you engage as a writer. And I want to say something that Joe Rogan really hit the nail on the head on. while you're in college, while you're young and uninhibited by the weight of responsibility, family, house, car note, things like that. Now, you may have some responsibilities. I'm not detracting from that. But if you're listening to this and you're young, you're single, and you have more time on your hands, for the love of Pete, if you want to be an author, write in your early teens and your late teens and your 20s. Really, before you get married, before you take on a lot of responsibilities, full-time job, etc., attack writing diligently and disciplined. Because a lot of us run into, and a lot of people are authors at heart. I'm pretty sure we would have more authors in the world if they weren't beholden to the 9-to-5 grind of work. People, through very specific times in their life, choose to take on writing, and it makes sense that they do, post 65, pre 30. And it's a hunger that you have to keep feeding as a married person, as a person who takes on bills, responsibilities. Something that was talked about on Joe Rogan, the quiet desperation, is real. You could be working a dead-end job and you put in an hour and a half, maybe an hour of writing a day or every, a week or whatever have you, and you're trying to write this novel that you're believing is going to happen, but may or may not end up getting off the ground, or it might be a novel that would have been perfect during the time you initially wrote it, but it may not transcend, the story itself may not transcend technology and where people are at. It's always good to finish the project, but if I would have written something Ready Player One like 10 years from now, it may not have had such an impact as it does today. Just a thought. But moving forward, as working professional, like I am with children, car note, house, things like that, you have to be disciplined if you have those responsibilities and you're trying to become an author. Discipline is something we get, especially if we're parents and stuff, and students. If we're also students, then we've already garnered some discipline to do the research and do our own writing. Maybe you have to wait until your kids are old enough to allow you some time, because I have babies. I have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and a lot of my time, is either dedicated towards making sure they have happy smiles and full bellies and clothes on their back. But, when I am at home and I do have downtime and I do have time, I don't even know if I even have a realistic time frame for myself. I make time for myself, but a lot of my time is used giving kids a bath, feeding my children, playing with them, snuggling them, teaching them things, letting them watch their shows, with my technology, with my phone, with my computer, allowing my kids to play games on my computer so that they can learn, or games on my phone. And, there's that whole, I got to stay in shape thing. So that right there, if I'm not working out during working hours and I choose to work out after work or even prior to work, I'm taking away from my time with my family. And you just have to develop discipline. You have to create a schedule where you make a marked attempt, and you become a person of your own word to achieve that certain goal. Or I'm going to write 3 poems today, hell or high water. You find time, you make time, you do it. Or I want to knock out 2,000 words of this book. Okay, then you do the 2,000 words, you move on with your day. And if you attack a book, at that pace where it's 2,000 words, even if it's 2,000 or 3,000 words a week, you're going to have a full novel, in about a year. And that's the average. I would say that's about average for working professionals to have their novel out in about a year because of handling those outside responsibilities. So if you are in that situation as a working professional, you have to focus your energy to get it completed, published in a timely manner, especially if you're not taking on other publishing engagements where you're writing research papers or you're not writing opinion articles or investigative journalism, whatever it is that you do as a working writing professional, and you're trying to pen your own novel on top of that. Still, it is a challenge because sometimes you've been crunching on the computer all day. The last thing you want to look at in some instances is a fucking screen. Sometimes you're like, nope, yoga. And then I'll go, hit the pool, and then I'm going to go do, I'm going to go to the park with my kids, et cetera, et cetera. The last thing you want to look at or even touch or feel is the dang keyboard underneath your hand. Or, if you're not present enough to jot down notes about your experience, then you're present enough to store it in your phone, and again, you're looking at a screen. And I've already discussed how we need breaks from screens. We really do. I think a part of our brain every day needs to lock onto the sky and, just remember that, out beyond the horizon is another opportunity. And that, the real world's going to happen around you whether you want it or not, whether you're paying attention or not. So, and I just hope that you do. Anyways, going back into what I wanted to talk about today. So, like I said, I'm in Southern California. I'm taking opportunities to involve my creative writing process with work, and it's been a pleasure. Now I got to go back home, do some editing. I got to do some more writing. And again, I'm still working on my novel. So, I'm going to put down a couple thousand words and then move forward to my next week of work. So I have a battle rhythm. I do have discipline. I do. And I have to have discipline in a lot of areas. So if you're someone who lacks a lot of discipline, create a battle plan. One of the ways you can create a battle plan for yourself is simply get a small notebook, something that is easily put in your pocket, make sure it's thin, and you can carry a small pen on you and walk with it just fine. Or you can put it in your phone, or you can even write it in your phone, whatever have you, because you carry that on you. So if you're in that process where you're writing on your phone and you're writing notes on a pad of paper or whatever have you, ensure that you are moving forward in a way to help your project, or you're writing a project. So, again, think about things you can be doing to move the chains forward, move the echelon of accomplishments forward for yourself, not just academic work, but completing novels. It is rewarding to be a published author and have people acknowledge your ability to have written a book, much less, continue with other projects. So, my show's kind of short today. I just wanted to read that poem. I wanted to get out what I've been doing, why I've been absent, and that's unfair to you guys. So, and I've said before, I'm going to have a more strict curriculum with my podcast. I'm going to have a more strict design, and it's going to get more streamlined. So the more you guys listen, the more you guys come with ideas for my podcast, poetry, short fiction, things to read on the podcast. It's going to be fantastic. So have a great day. Again, dwelch9627@gmail.com. Please leave me some comments. If you're on YouTube, find me on YouTube. Find me on Instagram. Very easy to find on YouTube. It's David the Sun Devil. Again, have a great day. Talk to you later.